So, good afternoon, and welcome to a Facebook Live about identity. So, some years ago, as I was talking to a woman heavily emotionally disrupted by politics, she said, well, I think that politics are so important to people because they define your values. And I thought, fuck no. Politics don't define my values. They'll never define my values. And I can't find myself putting myself into a label, a pocket, a box, a definition that fully defines who I am because I'm fluid and I'm changing. And what I believe or think tomorrow is different than what I believe or think today or yesterday. And these identity words that we've created around the things that really flummox us, like money, like sex, like relationships, love, status, privilege, dominance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are have become tricky. It's almost like the language is more important than how I feel about myself. In the same way, someone thinks politics is more important than how one feels about oneself. And so I just, I've had a couple of conversations with a couple of different people over the past few days about money and success and politics. And, I'm just astounded often about how people can't budge out of this thing that they've got themselves boxed into. And that could be something that's defined by parameters of income. And it could be something that's defined by parameters of political party alliance. And so as I find myself in these discussions, which by the way, a couple of years ago would get me super heated because I did buy into some aspect of that. If I either did or didn't identify as this label, then it did or didn't mean something. Not just to me, but to you who was listening to me. Like if I didn't identify the same way as a lot of my friends did, then, oh God, am I going to have no friends? Are people not going to like me? And so anyway, the past couple of years have completely destroyed that because I've made a lot of decisions and had to make up my own mind about a lot of things that a lot of people around me did not like. Anyway, I always have to laugh about stuff like that because that shit's hard. I mean, you try and take a stance about something big in the world that probably 99% of your friends are all on the same page about. You try and take a different stance and just see how miserable you get and how quickly. Anyway, but these labels, this idea of identity being the important thing, this idea that this question about how successful I am, well, it's about the house I have, the amount of money I have. Whereas, isn't it really about how you feel about yourself? Couldn't you, in fact, be making a ton of money and still not feel successful? Couldn't you, in fact, be someone who's making minimum wage, loving what you do, and feeling like, wow, I couldn't be happier with myself? Because it's all relative to where you came from, and yes, to your values, but your values are this intrinsic thing that for me, I think, I shouldn't say your values, I'll just say my values, and I believe most people's values, although I could be wrong, right, because I don't know everything, not today anyway, are really intrinsic, fluid, moving, and even debatable. And I do believe on some level we mostly have the same values. At the same time, how I define those values can be very different, and yet I could feel the same way you do about a lot of things. But is it so important to say that my values about this mean I am that or that or that? And what are the really bigger questions that I need to be not just asking, but answering about myself, about my life, about my values? Well, for me, it's not like, who's got more power? Who can take power from me? I mean, part of a conversation I had today was about women in the workplace and this idea of the glass ceiling. And it's not like I do or don't believe the glass ceiling exists. I mean, there are concrete cases where people experience that. I do not negate other people's experience. However, from my perspective in business, as I try to understand the history of business, the way things click together, the bigger puzzle, what's happened before, what's happening now, I do not believe in the glass ceiling. I do not believe that there's anything or anybody preventing me from getting ahead, becoming the most of what I want to be. I can figure out how to get there, including whether or not I want to suck someone's dick to get there. And that is my right and my privilege to be able to use what I want to use to get ahead, no matter how somebody else finds that offensive. Okay? And I'm not saying that I would or wouldn't do that because that's none of your business, right? The point is, I get to make up my own mind. I get to decide, and I get to be the one who's responsible for the consequences, not you, not ever. Now, there's freedom in everything I'm saying because I'm really living my values. And I'm also understanding that I don't know that I always understand what my values are. So I'm a work in progress, a day at a time. You want to loosen up. You want to stop thinking that everything's about a box or a label, or whether you're Democratic or Republican or conservative or liberal, or whether you're on this side or that side of the fence about this side or that side issue, or blah, 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 blah. Because the truth is contentment is about riding the wave, in and out of all of it, back and forth, left and right. Got to be with the moment, because the moment's always changing, and it's a good thing. The world's just changing, and even though it's rough right now, it's a good thing. And I'm in it for the long term. Thanks for spending time with me. Hope you have a great weekend.